So I think I'm ready to tell my birth story, and excuse the croaky voice. Well, my voice is usually hoarse, but it's even more hoarse now because I have a cough. My son is now 5 years old, and I've been I've been saying that I'll put out this story. I've been saying it since he was a 1-year-old, but I just haven't done it because I've been a bit hesitant to do so, because it was a really vulnerable time and I just haven't been ready. And also I haven't had time. So we moved from London in 2014. And then I fell pregnant with my son in 2019. And prior to being pregnant, all I'd ever heard about America and childbirth is the mortality rate among Black people. So when I fell pregnant, there was immediate anxiety, an immediate feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm going to need to go into the hospital to give birth. And that gave me a lot of anxiety from the moment I found out I was pregnant. So I had decided that I'm not going into a hospital to give birth. It's not happening. I'm not going to be a statistic. That decision was made very quickly in my head. I knew I was going to have my son at home, a home birth. And later on, I also began to have anxiety with that, because I felt in my head that even with healthcare professionals in my presence, in my own home where I feel comfortable, I still had a lot of anxiety because I was scared that I was going to be a statistic. So that then reached a point where I said, I don't want a medical professional present during my birth. And that came from that anxiety that I was feeling, the constant anxiety and the constant fear of childbirth. And I'd never felt like that before. I had had 2 kids prior to move into the States, and those births, my first experience of childbirth was great. It was easy, it was straightforward. He came early, and for a first-time mom, that never happens. He came within 4 hours from when my waters broke and I started feeling intense pain. 4 hours, easy. For my daughter, however, I had a lot of issues with that pregnancy. And if you're interested in that story, which is also a very interesting story, actually, all my births had interesting aspects. So let me know if you're interested after this, and I'll do number 1 and number 2. Today, I'm giving you number 3. So I had decided that I'm going to have a birth at home on our own. And I approached my husband with it. He remembers me saying I wanted a home birth. Possibly, I could have said I wanted a home birth. What I remembered saying was that I wanted an unassisted birth. He was happy with the home birth at first, because that's what he thought I'd said. Later on, when I made it clear that what I wanted was an unassisted birth, he wasn't happy. And then that's where a lot of issues arose, because again, my feelings were coming from a place of fear, whereas that I didn't necessarily communicate those fears. In fact, I don't think I communicated a lot of the fears that I had with him. But from his standpoint, it was like, how can you have a baby without a medical professional present? What are you doing, Duchess? But listen, once my mind is made up, I found it like, it was very hard for me to shake it off. So because it began to cause some issues between us, I left the conversation. So I started thinking, well, I'm the one that's pregnant. I'm the one that's going to feel the labor pains. I'm the one that's going to need to tell you, hey, it's time to go. So I thought, well, I'll hold off as long as possible and have my child at home. So at the point when I made that decision, I got into research. Now, I am a researcher by nature. So I read all the books you can think of. I read midwifery books. I read free birth books. Actually, I didn't know the term then. Like, I read just with midwifery, just childbirth books, giving birth, emergencies. Like I was studying to be a midwife. I read all the books. So they reached a point where I was like, oh, okay. I know what is considered an emergency. For example, if an arm came out first, that's a medical emergency. Get your ass to the hospital. And I had read about what to expect, what it's going to feel like, and I'd never had an epidural, so I knew already that I wasn't going into, like, I wasn't going to be missing an epidural. You can't miss what you've never had. I've never had it. There was one book, I don't remember the name of it, but it was like the book, the eye opener of a book. That book was, after I found that book, I didn't need to read anything else. I don't remember the name of it. It was 5 years ago. If you're interested, I can find out. So I just started reading, researching, following Facebook pages, certain pages dedicated to having your child at home. And I just immersed myself in that world. That's all I thought about. And I started watching videos. And he will catch me a few times watching childbirth videos. And I'm sure it was gruesome for him. But it was like, oh, look at that. Oh, that's so beautiful. And then I also started praying and I was saying to God that I know in my heart that childbirth is not a medical emergency. Right? Back in time, their community helped them give birth. They didn't have hospitals. Where were they going to? They assisted each other. The village, they didn't have hospitals. That your community would be the ones that will surround you as you give birth. So I knew in my heart that childbirth, and though it is an emergency for some people, just generally, it's not a medical emergency. That was my opinion. So my prayer throughout my pregnancy was, Lord, I am trusting you. You have made this body so beautifully well. You have made it to carry and bear children, right? You have made it to eject that child that you have carried. You've made us that way. So I pray that you allow me to have a successful childbirth and bring this boy into this world healthy and well. That was my prayer throughout the pregnancy, throughout. You made me this way. Guide my body in delivering this baby. That's all I prayed for. That was my, I don't know how many times, third time bargaining with God, by the way. Shoot. I bargained. I said, if you do this for me, I will never doubt you. I will never doubt you. That was literally my prayer. I didn't tell many people of my plan. I remember telling 2 other people, my mum and mother-in-law. Fast forward, I start having labor pains. At about, I want to say 5. I believe it was 5. In the video, I think I say the time. And everyone was sleeping. The house was quiet. And I was like, oh, shoot, this is it. Everything. Oh, sorry, cramp. I was sitting in an uncomfortable position. Labor begins, and I'm going to insert a video right here. I think it's a 5-second. It's a really short video because by the time I got to talking, labor pain kicked in. Labor has indeed started. It is, I don't even know what time it is. I think it's 5 to 5 something. Labor has started. Bubba is ready to come out. Cannot wait to meet him. My lips are overly dry. I'm smiling now. In a few minutes, seconds, the pain will hit. The house was sleeping, so no one was awake, thankfully. And so I just paced up and down. Family room, dining room, kitchen. Kitchen, dining room, family room. Just pacing up and down with the labor pains. I believe that was 5 a.m. The labor was really short, thankfully. Hubby eventually wakes up. And he's like, oh, what's up? I said, just feeling. Like, oh, just feeling some cramping. Obviously try not to let on that I'm in labor. Like, oh, just feeling some cramping. Yeah, I'll be okay. I don't need to, yeah. And then he starts, I think at the back of his mind, he's like, nah, this girl's trying it. He's like, this girl's trying it. She's playing with me. So anyway, I see him like moving quickly because it was a school day. So the kids are going to school. He's getting them ready. He's making breakfast. I'm still there with my labor pains every minute at this point. And he tells me to come and shower, right? Because in his head, she's going to need to go to the hospital soon. Come and shower. I'm like, I'm not ready yet. So I'm there just chilling when I can, being in pain when the labor pains come, and I'm taking my sweet little time. He's like, come and shower. Like, no. And then eventually, I think he pushes enough because he's probably getting frustrated at this point. And we go into the shower. And when I'm feeling labor, I'm like, dude, get off of me. You can't be on me. Don't touch me. When the labor came, I think that's when he realized that, oh, shoot, she's really in labor. She's been putting this on and pretending that she wasn't in real labor when my girl is. Listen, my aim was to stall as long as possible, okay? Stall, and that's what I was doing, okay? But even though in the bath, I had to eventually get on all fours because the pain would lick me, and I would just have to just pause. He couldn't touch me when the labor pain came. So guess what? He strategized. He's like, okay, as soon as it's finished, I'm going to do this so quickly, so quickly so we can get out of here. So in no time, he finished showering me. So we get out. Then he starts getting me dressed because at this point, even though I'm able, obviously, if you've had a baby, when you're in labor, you can't do anything. The pain is too much. Then it subsides. You can be normal again. And then 2 seconds later, you're back at it. So he's helping me get dressed. So he comes, puts on knickers and a bra. By the time he turns round, he's like, I just put on your knicker. Where did it go? And I'm like, it's uncomfortable. I can't wear it. It's uncomfortable. No, but it really was. I wasn't doing that just to stall. It was uncomfortable. Listen, the baby already at that point is coming down my canal. I mean, I didn't know, but it was uncomfortable. So he calls my friend. Shout out to Books. Calls my friend to come and pick up the kids. She picks up the kids and leaves. He's still attempting to get me dressed. It's not happening. Not happening. Then tutus, the pain intensifies. And it's now coming every, I don't know how many seconds. So I'm now on all fours on my bedroom floor, because I learned from my books and my research that one of the optimal positions for childbirth is being on all fours. The bed just isn't the most optimal. So I was on all fours, and it was comfortable because I was able to rock my hips from side to side. So that's what I was doing. And after a while, I'm like, I need to push. He was out of the room at that point. I said, I need to push. You have to come here so you can catch the baby. And I start pushing. And by 6:58, he was born. I had pushed him out. Mark caught him, fed him through my legs to me. I held him. He wasn't crying immediately. I wasn't worried. I'd read enough books. So I looked at his face. I sucked at his nose and his mouth, just as my books had told me. And he started crying eventually. I held him by my chest. And that was it for the house. I was so excited. I had given birth. Oh my gosh. It was such a good feeling. I was so excited. I had him. We did it. And then soon after, the placenta comes. Oh my gosh, it detached. And I had to rub on my tummy. I rubbed on, listen, I told you guys I read books. I rubbed on my tummy, kept rocking. And before you knew it, the thing came out. It came out. I didn't want to go to the hospital. So I'm like, the baby's out. If it was a home birth, you wouldn't be going to the hospital. Why do you want me to go to the hospital? But you know what? You have to pick your battles. I've already, in my head, like one battle. Let me just give him this. Let me just put his mind at ease by going to the hospital. So he calls 911, and they come. And they're coming to cut the umbilical cord. I said, I said, please don't cut the umbilical cord. They put me on the chair. I said, can I have my baby? Oh, no, your baby can't be on your lap as you're in the chair being carried down your stairs. We'll give you the baby in the ambulance. I said, okay. Little did I know that they're inside the house. They're inside the house trying to persuade my hubby to allow them to cut the umbilical cord. They don't know my hubby knows better, because I gave him one instruction. Well, I gave him two instructions. Don't you leave my child alone in that hospital, because I'm going. Because you want me to go. Don't leave my baby. And secondly, that umbilical cord is not to be cut. So when they were trying to persuade him to allow them to cut the umbilical cord, he said, if you guys don't want problems in that hospital, I suggest you leave it. I can't give permission. She said no, so no. So they gave me my baby in the ambulance. We went to the hospital. In the hospital now, they put me into this big room with 3 bed cubicles because they were waiting for a room, right? Okay, so I'd been there for 2 hours. Then a lady comes, Caucasian lady comes, and within half an hour, she's getting a room, and I'm still waiting. I said, sorry, I don't understand. I've been here. She had a newborn baby too. I've been here for 2 hours and I don't have a room. And this lady's getting a room and she's been here 30 minutes. I called. I said, come pick me up. I'm not staying here. Come pick me up. He was like, no, I just need to sort out some stuff. I need to buy some stuff. Just stay there. It'll be okay. Whatever. They eventually give me a room. They said I needed stitches. So they sutured me up. And I remember my baby, they said, there was a room attached to the room I was in. And they were in there with the baby by himself. I said, he ran in there so quick. Soon after that, it was the vaccination. I said, I'm going to speak to my pediatrician first. And I'm going to possibly delay, but I don't want to do it right now. And I remember, I'll never forget this woman. She was an Igbo doctor as well. Oh, your child could die. I said, God forbid. She had the same last name as my sister as well. And I'm like, take that stuff out here. I said, I'm going to speak to my pediatrician and we are going to put a plan in order because I wasn't vaccinating on day one of my baby being here. She tried. Another doctor came in and tried. And I said, no. Guess what? The next day, social services was in my room. She came in, knocked on the door. I was like, hi. Oh, I'm from child services, I guess. I got a call, I guess, because you didn't want to vaccinate. They called. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to speak to my pediatrician. Oh, the doctor spoke to your pediatrician. Is it Dr. Da-da-da-da-da? I said, no, that was the old pediatrician. No, it's not. So they went to go and call the pediatrician they had on file to ask permission, even though I had said no. She came in, she started asking questions. Where do we work? What do we do? And my man is there answering questions. I had to text him. Oh, sorry, I'm just texting my mum real quick. Text him. Please do not give this woman any information. Who is she? So she ended up leaving. And then the next day, she comes in again. Oh, can we come in? I said, it depends on what you're here for. I heard you were leaving today, so I just came to see how you're doing and to wish you luck. I said, thank you very much. And we got out of there. Maybe because we were British citizens, their hands were tied a little bit because why did they call her? Yeah, the hospital experience wasn't that great. Childbirth, amazing. I wish that I had given birth to all of my kids in that way. I just wish I had. We're home now, just enjoying our booba. And then I get a bill in the post for 13,000. Let me shine your ears. 13,000. And guess what was in there? My man of a doctor was trying to charge me for delivery of my baby. After all that work, you're trying to charge me for the delivery? I said, I called them up quick time. I said, my baby was not delivered at the hospital. My baby was delivered at home. And they had to take that thing off. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this story time.